Game Week 8 is finally here after a very long international break indeed. So it's time to figure out who to spend those valuable transfers on. We've got all of the data covered in this week's Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid. If you're new to Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid, this is how it works. The video is split into two parts, the first of which we will be checking out those players you may already have in your team and which ones you should keep and which ones you should sell. After that, we'll be looking at the players you don't have, which players you should buy and which players you should avoid. Players will be tier listed with the best players on top and the worst players towards the bottom. And first of all, guys, I should probably apologize. Obviously, there's been no FPL content for the past week. Unfortunately, I did receive some pretty bad news in my personal life just around a week ago, maybe slightly more. And yeah, it's been pretty tough to get in front of the camera since then. Don't worry, guys, I am okay. I'm really glad that I am now making content again because it's actually a really good distraction, and FPL, you know, is very good for me. It is a good distraction. It is a fun game, and I'm really just going to try and enjoy myself with the content and the playing of FPL and the football that is coming back this weekend. But yeah, just wanted to apologize if I'm maybe a little bit off at the moment, or you know, just not making videos because it is not usual for me. But it has been, you know, very specific circumstances that have led up to this. So yeah, appreciate all the support on the video. Obviously, I'm probably going to be out of the algorithm. This video is probably not going to be shown to as many people. So yeah, dropping a like on the video is massively appreciated. But we've got loads of stuff to cover today, guys. There is no way, no matter what happens in my personal life, I can go a week without Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid, guys. Come on now. So forwards, first of all, we're going to be checking out some players that you should probably keep for your FPL teams ahead of Game Week 8. And I've put Mateta at the top here, mostly because his underlying data is so fantastic. 14 shots, 8 big chances, and even though he's only scored 2 goals, one of which was a penalty, 3.89 xg is really nice in his last 6 appearances. So we're going, by the way, guys, on the last 6 game weeks now, because I like to keep a rolling form table of these players. So game week 1's data is now excluded from the Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid video, and we'll keep going forward and forward each game week, making sure we look at 6 game week data rather than the full season, because form is very important. Now, the fixtures aren't amazing in the next 2 for Mateta, but after that, it does pick up. So if you do already have Mateta in your team, well, worth keeping. I also think João Pedro is going to be worth keeping because the fixtures are just so good. I know a lot of people have been disappointed with João Pedro recently. He has had some injury issues. We know that. But with a nice long break, no international duty for him whilst he recovered, he is hopefully going to be back at his best in some good fixtures, which hopefully can breed some of the great form we saw earlier on in the season for him. So I think because of these fixtures, it's very difficult to suggest selling João Pedro, and hopefully he can be that guy that we saw from the first couple of game weeks, which was so special. Isak, another player I don't think I'd be looking to sell. The fixtures for Liverpool are generally quite decent. Man United, Brentford and Aston Villa. But I like João Pedro. Maybe the data isn't quite there. Maybe the form isn't quite there. But as we say, good fixtures breed good form, and we know players like João Pedro and Isak are top FPL assets. They've proven themselves multiple times in the last few years that they are well worth having in our FPL teams. And to be honest, guys, there's not a huge amount of forwards in the game that can do a lot better. So, yeah, if there's good fixtures there, I think these kind of players are worth keeping. Now, going down into the monitor section, Gyökeres is kind of on the edge, and I can definitely understand if you were to sell him. Now, I still think it is a mystery who will take the next penalty for Arsenal, and I say that as an Arsenal fan. I don't think Saka is secured, locked on penalties just yet, but I don't think that's really necessarily good enough for 9.1 million to maybe have penalties. Now, even though Gyökeres hasn't really been performing in the last couple of game weeks, hasn't scored goals, the fixtures, next 2, not great. Fulham, Crystal Palace. The fixtures after that are not bad, pretty good. But Gyökeres, really, I'm looking at this data. 15 shots, all in the box, 3.05 xg. Yes, one of them was a penalty for his goals. But I think we are seeing some positive signs here that do suggest that maybe we could get a return or 2. And, you know, that's kind of the best we're hoping for. But value for money, Gyökeres is not providing it. And therefore, if you did need to sacrifice him in order to make some other moves, I totally get it. Richarlison is one to monitor. We saw him benched in Game Week 7. And we're going to see, hopefully, maybe Solanke and, well, maybe not hopefully if you have Richarlison, but we're maybe going to see Solanke and Kolo Muani come in the coming game weeks. We've got Tell there taking some minutes off Richarlison at Spurs. Obviously, Tell did score last week as well. So Richarlison is in some danger, but if he does start against Aston Villa, then obviously that's going to be a pretty good opportunity for him. So there's still a chance Richarlison could be good this week, but after that, he is going to become a very dangerous FPL asset to own. Evan Nilsson here, I'm going to put him in the monitor as well. The fixtures are, okay. We've got that Forest game in Game Week 9, but outside of that, nothing too special in the immediate term. And Evan Nilsson not really provided too much. Data's not really there in particular either, so not really too much to suggest that he is going to be a good pick going forward. Ekitike is going to be rotation risk now with Isak, going to be the main striker for Liverpool, so who knows, could they both play together? Maybe some games, maybe not other games. It is, again, a bit of a mystery here. Ekitike, probably just one to think about selling right now. If you do have him, definitely not a player to buy. Chris Wood, one to sell. Forest just really poor at the moment. They got some pretty weak fixtures coming up as well. Watkins, similar situation, poor form, poor fixtures, and maybe an injury as well. He actually returned to the Aston Villa camp over the international break. He had an impact injury, very sore, unable to train, unable to play. So I think he could be back for Game Week 8 in fairness, but maybe this is the kind of kick you need to sell Watkins if you still have him. And Beto, the 1-point merchant against Man City away, a good time to sell him as well. Onto those midfielders. If you have Enzo, do not fear this Dorito of death, the yellow triangle next to his name. I think the fixtures are so good for Enzo. If Palmer is going to be out for a little bit longer, and it looks like that's going to be the case, then Enzo, I mean, look at this data. He could be on penalties here as well. Maybe occasionally defensive contribution points, but he's playing in an attacking role with some great fixtures, and he's playing quite well for Chelsea, generally speaking. So if he's fit, he's a player you definitely want to keep. And even if he's not quite ready for Game Week 8, you're going to want him from Game Week 9, 10, and 11. So no reason to sell this man. I would definitely keep him if you have him. And really, it's going to be a case of assessing how bad is his injury. There are maybe some knee issues that he has. He has returned to Chelsea. Maybe it's precautionary. We're going to have to wait to see the press conferences to get a real idea on the Enzo situation. But regardless, if you already have him, I would just bench him this week if you are worried about him. I wouldn't be selling him. Reinders, I can't really see a strong reason to sell him, to be honest, at this point. 5.8 million midfielder, scored for the Netherlands during the international break, came very close to scoring in Game Week 7 as well, maybe a bit unlucky there. Everton and Aston Villa in the next two fixtures, I think, are good enough for him. You can definitely play him in those game weeks, or you can bench him. I mean, he's a 5.8 million midfielder, and I'm sure you guys have a pretty deep squad at this point. Bruno Fernandes is also going to go in the keep section, which is always going to be controversial, but look at the XG, guys. Look at the penalties that he's taking. He's going to score them eventually. 14 key passes is absolutely crazy numbers here. He's creating so much. He has been the most unlucky FPL asset in FPL this season. And Liverpool looks like a tough game on paper, but Liverpool haven't exactly been amazing. Man United coming off the back of a win, finally. So, I'm struggling to find players much better than Bruno. I mean, I guess the only reason to sell Bruno is if you desperately needed some money for whatever reason. But yeah, I'm still Team Bruno, guys. Sorry. Defensive contributions, still really good on that front. Good data on penalties. The fixtures after Liverpool, I think, are very good. Brighton and Forest, really, really nice fixtures at this moment. So, yeah, still think you should keep Bruno Fernandes. And I await the comments on that one, because I know a lot of you guys do not feel the same. Grealish want to monitor. I think if you're planning a Game Week 8 bench boost, then obviously you're going to need to sell Grealish because of that Man City game that he is ineligible to play in because he is on loan at Everton from Man City. But really, if you can bench Grealish, I see no real reason to sell him. Spurs, Sunderland and Fulham after City, they're not the best fixtures, but you could do a lot worse there. So I think it's absolutely fine to go ahead and keep Grealish on your bench if possible. Salah, I'm gonna say this: if you don't have Haaland and the only way to get Haaland is by selling Salah, then you should probably sell Salah. However, if you can have both Salah and Haaland in your team, I actually think the last two games for Salah in the Premier League have been his two best Premier League performances yet, in terms of how dangerous he's looked. And the underlying data actually supports that as well. He's put up his best expected goal involvement numbers of this season in the Premier League in the last two Premier League games, which does suggest he is getting better. And we've already mentioned that Liverpool fixture is actually pretty good. Outside of Man City, for quite some time, Liverpool have really good fixtures. So really, if you still have Salah, I would be okay with keeping him, particularly if you also have Haaland in your team. I think it's absolutely fine to have Salah right now. Gakpo I'm going to throw in here as well as a monitor. Maybe some rotation risk at this point with everyone now fit for Liverpool, which is some concern for some of the more rotation risk players at Liverpool. But Gakpo, you know, he's not done too badly. Again, another player scoring in the international break, another player who scored in game week 7. So therefore, I think you can definitely afford to keep him, maybe. No reason to rush him out the door. It's just that rotation risk. And Brian Mbeumo, yeah, maybe not as keen on him. The underlying data is not too bad, but I'm struggling to have the confidence in Mbeumo because at least with Bruno, you have those defensive contributions to fall back on. So for a similar price, I would think about selling Mbeumo more than I'd think about selling Bruno, to be honest. But again, I don't think he is a must-sell player, really. Want to monitor. And if you still have the likes of Wirtz, Rodgers, and Johnson in your team, well, it's a good time to sell them. Last week and the week before that was probably a pretty nice time to sell them as well. But I'm pretty happy to put these players in the sell category of the most popular players, most popular midfielders that people own. I think these guys are pretty straightforward sells, particularly compared to maybe some of the other players on this list. Defenders now, and don't ask me why, but Gabriel is in the top 10 most sold defenders ahead of Game Week 8. I don't really know why, but do not sell him if you have him. Like, why would you sell Gabriel? He's doing so well. And he's actually, against all odds, surprised us by doing really well for defensive contributions this season. It's actually crazy. I think maybe Gabriel has put himself in his FPL team this season and has thought, oh, well, the rules have changed. I better make a few more tackles. And he's certainly been doing that. So, yeah, nice fixtures from a defensive point of view for Arsenal. I prefer these fixtures, actually, for defenders rather than those attackers. So, yeah. Well worth keeping if you have him. Romero is an interesting one. And out of all of the Spurs defenders, I think I would be most keen to keep Romero. And that is just because of defensive contributions. Now, Aston Villa, the way they set up, the way they play football, where they play with a lot of the ball, and typically this season not doing too much with the ball, that does allow their oppositions to pick up a lot of defensive contribution points. So Romero, as the best DEFCON defender for Spurs, is pretty well set up, actually, to get defensive contributions against Aston Villa. Now, Aston Villa have been pretty poor in attack. Spurs have kept some clean sheets, even though they have been overperforming their defensive data. So therefore, could we see a Romero clean sheet, defensive contributions, bonus points, and hey, you never know, an attacking return is possible with a guy like him as well. He definitely has huge potential this week, and that's why out of all of the Spurs defenders, I would be most keen to keep Romero. I think he ticks the most boxes of a player who could do well in this fixture. So it's, you know, in an individual fixture, sometimes you've got to look at that. Does your player suit the fixture? And I think Romero definitely does suit this Aston Villa fixture because of those DEFCONs, guys, because of those DEFCONs. And Esteve for Burnley against Leeds at home. Some people selling him, but actually, this is like the perfect time to keep Esteve, no? Defensive contributions, very good for him. Great fixture at home against Leeds, followed by Wolves after that as well. We've got West Ham in 11. There's actually a few game weeks where Esteve is very, very playable. You can play him in a lot of these games. So unless you're on a wild card or something, I wouldn't waste a transfer selling Esteve. I think he's actually maybe just about to reach his peak of where he's going to score FPL points this season. So pretty nice pick, really. Monitor Virgil, obviously he is expensive. Obviously Liverpool are maybe disappointing a little bit defensively in more recent game weeks. By the way, the data does suggest that Liverpool maybe have been conceding more goals than they should have, but with no Alisson right now, that definitely does damage the Liverpool defense a little bit. So, yeah, you could maybe sell Virgil, but he would be a very high monitor and a very low priority sell for me. Kukurea, similar situation. Maybe not great value for money right now, but a little bit of attacking threat we've seen recently. Another assist in Game Week 7 and really nice fixtures for Chelsea. It's very difficult to sell any Chelsea players right now, it has to be said, because not only do they have these good fixtures, Forest, Sunderland, Spurs, Wolves, they also have Burnley in Game Week 12 as well. So the next 5 game weeks look really strong for Chelsea. We've got the other Spurs defenders here, maybe not so good for defensive contributions. Romero kind of way ahead of these guys, really. Van der Ven particularly disappointing in this regard. I don't think these players are must-sells, but they're probably not the optimal picks going forward. So if you are looking to buy a new defender, I think both Van der Ven and Pedro Porro could be sacrificed potentially, but again, not must-sell players. If you're looking to sell, Aston Villa defenders have got to go. Spurs away, City, Liverpool, and Bournemouth in the next 4. These are horrible fixtures for a defender, so get rid of those Aston Villa defenders if you have them in your team. Frimpong, with his rotation risk continuing, really, it's very, very difficult to keep him right now at 5.8 million. Gotta go. And Livramento, we did suggest in last game week's buy, sell, keep, avoid video that it looks like Livramento has had sustained a long-term injury. That is now confirmed. He is going to be out for, and we're looking at December. Early to late December, somewhere around that month is when he's going to be back. So a long time, basically. So yeah, he's got to go in your FPL teams, and time to pick up a new defender. Don't worry, we've got some suggestions for you. And by the way, guys, if you are enjoying the buy, sell, keep, avoid video, make sure you do drop a like, massively appreciated. And we're shooting for 240,000 subscribers as well. I think we're only a couple hundred off now. So if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do hit that button and help me achieve that target this week, hopefully, fingers crossed. Let's check out some players to buy. Erling Haaland, top of the list, as always. Yeah, if you don't have Haaland yet, what are you waiting for? Surely you can't go on without him. He's doing so well. Best data in the Premier League by some margin. He is just absolutely wiping the floor with pretty much every other FPL asset in the game, other than maybe Semenyo, but honestly, Haaland's data is much better than Semenyo. So yeah, love him as a pick. Gotta have him. Voltemada, I'm also going to put in the buy section. If you are looking for a new forward and you already have Haaland, I think Voltemada would be the player I'd be going for, particularly now we know he is going to be on penalties. Really good stuff there. He scored 3 goals already in 4 appearances. The fixtures are pretty good for Newcastle as well. Brighton, Fulham, West Ham, and Brentford in the next 4. 7.2 million, pretty good value for money there. I think I would go for it. Mateta, another player to consider buying. I'm really struggling for forwards right now to buy, which maybe a few of you guys feel the same. But Mateta, really good underlying data. I don't love the next 2 fixtures, so I don't know. Maybe this is controversial, but from Game Week 10, looks really nice. So yeah, you could buy him now. Penalty taker, good underlying data, has scored a couple of goals, just obviously made his France debut and scored in that as well. So the confidence should be high with him. I think there are some positive signs here to be totally fair. In the monitor section, we're going to put Joao Pedro. Yeah, even if you don't have Joao Pedro, I think I would still consider buying him, trying to get ahead of the form, because I really do think this is a huge opportunity for him to show up, his form to improve. The fixtures are just so good. So we'll see what happens here. It is risky if you were to buy Joao Pedro right now, but I do prefer him to some of the other options that people are talking about. For example, Jared Bowen, who has scored goals. He scored 3 goals so far this season. Pretty decent. But the data is pretty horrible. In the last 6 game weeks, he has just 0.68 XG. That does not look sustainable to me, to be scoring 3 goals from 0.68 XG. Even Chris Wood, peak Chris Wood, where he was overperforming like crazy, wasn't doing these kind of numbers. So I appreciate the fixtures are nice. We got new management. There is definitely some potential here, which is why he's not in the avoid section. I think this is definitely a player to monitor, to have a look at and see how well he can do for 7.7 million, which is, 0.3 cheaper than he was in the start of the season. He is definitely a player to consider. But please be aware of that really poor underlying data, because often that will reflect the future outcomes. Rather than just, the end results, the goals, sometimes the underlying data is a better predictor of what will happen next. But the good fixtures are coming, so I guess we'll see what happens next. But even Joao Pedro has better data than Bowen. Oh, what can we say? Thiago is an interesting, cheaper forward to get. 1.75 XG in 6 games, which is pretty nice. We've got West Ham next. There are some tricky fixtures in here, but if you're looking for a cheap option who you're going to maybe bench a lot of game weeks, then maybe Thiago can be that guy for you. I'm going to put Gyökeres low in the monitor section. I'm not sure I would be as keen on buying him as maybe previously. He's just not showing that value for money right now. That's not to say I would sell him, of course, but yeah, maybe let's see how he gets on next 2 game weeks if you don't have him already. If he does do well, or shows more promise, keeps up that decent data, then game week 10 is maybe a point you could think about buying him in. Okay, well, this is the point in the video where this is probably a different opinion to other opinions you may have seen in FPL recently, but I'm going to stick my neck out here and say I'm not quite ready to buy Benjamin Šeško. Liverpool away, I appreciate Liverpool are not the greatest in their greatest form right now, but it's just not the moment I'd want to buy Šeško. I know we're getting desperate for forwards at this point, but and also appreciate that Šeško has looked a lot better in the last 2 game weeks, and there's definitely some potential there. But Liverpool away, I'm not that desperate. But I'll be keeping a really close eye on him in future game weeks. And I think he is definitely a player who is going to move into the monitor section and maybe even the buy section within the next couple of episodes of Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid. But right this second, it's not for me. It's not for me. And Calvert-Lewin, look, the fixtures are phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. And, you know, I spoke about players like João Pedro, like Isak, who have really nice fixtures as well, and said, you know, good fixtures breed good form. But with João Pedro and Isak, they have proven themselves not just, not just in the last year, the last 2 years, the last 3 years. These players have been good players for a number of years. Calvert-Lewin, a lot of people, you know, will have fond memories of Calvert-Lewin scoring a lot of goals for their FPL teams. But I know time flies, but that was 5 years ago. Calvert-Lewin has not had, you know, a season where he scored more than a few goals in 5 years now. So it has been a long time. Could he reclaim that form? I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying it's impossible. But given the history of Calvert-Lewin and FPL in the last 4 years, I'm not really feeling this one. I mean, I can't believe it's controversial to say that I don't really fancy Calvert-Lewin as a FPL asset. I need him to really prove himself before inflicting the pain that we know he can cause. It was only a year ago where the last Calvert-Lewin hype trains kicked off, and he, you know, blanked for what, like 10 game weeks in a row despite some amazing fixtures. I didn't go there last year. I'm not going to go there this year either. So the fixtures are good. He isn't probably nailed on for minutes. He is probably, you know, going to be the penalty taker as well for that time. He is maybe you could make an argument he's good value for money. But, like, is anyone really struggling for money right now? Really? If you're just going to bench Calvert-Lewin every week anyway, he's just a cheap forward you're going to bench, then why buy him? Why waste a transfer there? Maybe, you know, if you're on a bench boost this week or next week, then maybe. I'm struggling here, guys. I'm struggling to make an argument for Calvert-Lewin. I know, crazy stuff. And Ekatike, rotation risk, not a player you probably want to buy right now because of the question marks around his minutes. Well, I'm glad I got that part of the video out of the way. Calvert-Lewin, man, hype train. I'm not boarding that particular train. On to some midfielders next. Semenyo is going to be a buy again. Kind of fed up of talking about this guy at this point. Just get him in your FPL teams, guys. What are you waiting for? Saka, I think, is also a pretty nice buy. If you're looking to pick up some Arsenal players this week, maybe you have an Arsenal slot spare, Saka is definitely a strong contender. He's going to have that penalty share. Ødegaard's going to be out for a little bit longer, so Saka's going to have a decent amount of corner share as well. We know Arsenal like a corner goal. I'm not complaining as long as they're goals. The goals all count the same. So, yeah, there is some appeal to Saka right now at 9.9 million, particularly if you find yourself with a lot of spare cash, don't know where to spend it. Maybe Saka is the place to go. Ismail Assar is also a player I quite like, and I don't love the fixtures, Bournemouth and Arsenal, but what we see from Sarr is he is often a fixture-proof player, so therefore, even when the fixtures are not as good, he is, you know, perfectly capable of doing the business in these kind of fixtures. Underlying data for just the 4 games he's played in the last 6 game weeks is incredible. 2.93 XG, and a little bit of creativity there as well, not too much. But his data is phenomenal. He is cheap at 6.5 million. He is fixture proof. He is a player I absolutely love. We've been a Sarr fanboy on this channel for a long time, and now he's available. That's not going to change all of a sudden. Big fan. Ismail Assar, definitely worth a punt if you particularly if you don't have many Crystal Palace players and you want to kind of get on board with that one, even if it means benching Senesi or, you know, maybe playing Sar against Senesi, I think it's worthwhile. Monitor Enzo, again, until we know his injury status, and hopefully we'll find out through press conferences at the end of the week. If he's available, I would say he's a buy. If he is unavailable, obviously he's going to be an avoid. So I think it's as simple as that with Enzo. Whilst Palmer is out, he's the guy. Caicedo, I'm warming to because he's just a defensive contribution beast. 84 in his last 6 game weeks is crazy. I'm not going to expect a lot of goals, but with Palmer out, Caicedo has been freed up a little bit in those defensive midfield positions, which maybe has damaged his defensive contribution potential a little bit. But really, you know, he is taking shots. 7 shots in 6 game weeks. It's not too bad. 1 key pass there as well. Look, he's okay. Like, for a cheap midfielder who is mostly going to get you 4 points each week, that's pretty nice. You can't go too wrong there. Kudus, I'm a little bit... I'm not like super hyped on him. I like the Aston Villa fixture, but we have to accept that after that, the fixtures are maybe a little more average. So you're not picking him up at the best fixture moment, but I think for Spurs, Kudus has been, you know, clearly Spurs' best attacker. He looks really good right now. So yeah, he's like the Ghanaian Semenyo, and Semenyo is the Ghanaian Kudus at this point. Both of the Ghanaians doing absolutely incredibly. So yeah. Pick Kudus up if you fancy it. I think he's definitely an option. I think I prefer Sar and a fit Enzo, though, has to be said. And Anthony did pick up an injury in game week 7. We have the impression he's probably going to be available for game week 8, but we don't know for sure. So keep an eye on that one. Fixtures are still good for Burnley. And avoid Eza. Not sure he is providing enough to be worth the 7.6 million price tag, particularly when the next 2 fixtures are not the best. Yeah, look, I love Eze. You know, I have his football shirt is right behind me. Like, he's my favorite Arsenal signing of the last several years. So this is not me hazing on Eze. I'm just not quite ready to invest from FPL. Arsenal slots are so valuable right now. You know, with that double defense, you know, we've got Saka there as well. Eze, I think there are other players who are actually cheaper than him that can match him. And I'm talking about Sar, Enzo, Kudus, maybe even Anthony for that attacking potential. I think these guys offer just as much, if not more, for a cheaper price tag with better fixtures too. So therefore, Eze is going to go in the avoid section for now. Doku is going to be an avoid as well. Cherky is back available. We've got Oscar Bob there as well. We saw Doku rotated last game week. He's a rotation risk player. What more can we say? The fixtures are not good enough to pick up a rotation risk Man City midfielder right now, so avoid there. And I'm still not seeing the vision on Gravenberch. Not really getting too many defensive contributions really this season. His underlying data is very poor. You know, yes, he scored 2 goals, 2 assists. I just can't see this happening every single game week. That's not me saying I can see it happening with Caicedo, by the way, but Caicedo slightly better XG and much better defensive contribution potential. So if you're going Caicedo versus Gravenberch, which player should you pick up? It is a clear winner for Caicedo for me at this moment. So Gravenberch in the avoid section. As for the defenders, Arsenal defenders on top, no doubt about that. By far the best defense in the Premier League right now. So Gabriel is your number 1 pick. Timber has got to be considered as well. I think Timber is pretty good for minutes. I think he is really top right back for Arsenal, and I don't really see him getting rotated. So yeah, I like the look of him a lot. So feel free to go for Timber. Like, you know, it would be a very good pick indeed. Even if you already have Gabriel and Timber combo, love it. Senesi still think is worth picking up if you don't have him already. The fixtures are good enough, I think, from a defensive point of view, and we know he is the defensive contribution king of defense. Dan Burn for Newcastle, I think he is still definitely going to be an option for you guys. The fixtures are pretty nice for Newcastle right now. He's doing okay for defensive contributions, nothing crazy, but it's really the clean sheets and the defense of Newcastle that has impressed so far this season. Chalobah is back available this week, and with Chelsea's great fixtures and that attacking threat that he genuinely does seem to have right now, I think it could be worth going back in on Chalobah. I just picked Chalobah up for my draft fantasy team. I'm really happy with that pickup. So yeah, I think for, you know, proper FPL, genuinely a consideration right now if you're feeling brave. But it should be said that Chelsea have been pretty poor defensively recently. Maybe that is to do with playing Liverpool or having lots of games in which players were sent off or players missing. You know, you can make a lot of reasons up why Chelsea have been bad defensively, but their defenders seem to be coming back you know, becoming more available. The fixtures are good. Maybe everything is coming together for Chelsea to put in a good run now. Gavardio is also a monitor, not convinced by value for money, no defensive contributions. I don't think his attacking threat is anything special either, despite his assist in game week 7. The fixtures are okay, though, over the next couple of weeks, and in the long term, they're pretty good as well. So a player to consider, but really, I still prefer Arsenal defenders. I still prefer even maybe a Van Dijk if you're looking for someone at a similar price tag. Now, Alderete, just before I started recording this video, actually was subbed off for his international team, Paraguay, with a suspected muscle injury. So be very careful before buying Alderete. Do not buy him right now. Wait for news on if that injury is significant or if it is precautionary. I don't know. It happened so recently that I can't tell you exactly what happened there, but yeah, muscular apparently. So let's see what happens there. If he's available, could be a nice little cheap defender, but if he's not, yeah, probably not worth going there. And avoid these Crystal Palace defenders. Just maybe not the moment to buy them. I know that I've not been too hype on Gay, and I've been team Richards this season, but even Richards, I would put him in Lacroix. I'd put all of these guys in the void for the next 2 game weeks against Bournemouth and Arsenal. If you don't have these guys already, they're probably not worth buying right now. You can wait a couple of weeks before buying them. Like, you're definitely going to bench them against Arsenal. You maybe play them against Bournemouth in game week 8, but even that is probably uncertain. So, you know, I think Gay and Munoz are actually much better than maybe I've given them credit for so far this season. But it's just not the right moment for me. So that's why they're in a void. And Cucurella, value for money wise, just not really doing it for me. If you're looking for a Chelsea defender, I would go for Chalobah. So Cucurella at 6.1 million. You can't be spending that money on a Chelsea defender right now. So he is going to go in the avoid section too. For our goalkeepers, I think Sanchez, with the fixtures he has, is well worth keeping. Very difficult to suggest wasting a transfer on a precious transfer on a goalkeeper when the fixtures are this good. I think Vicario is worth keeping as well. Wouldn't be spending a transfer there. But if you're on a wild card or a free hit, something like that, then you're not going to pick these goalkeepers. But, you know, if we're talking about using transfers, these guys probably not worth selling. Selling sells is maybe a sell more sellable. So Chelsea, Bournemouth, Man United, fixtures downhill here really for Nottingham Forest. So, you know, very easy to sell someone like Sells if you are looking for a new goalkeeper. And of course, Alisson with his injury, again, another reason where you might be keen to sell him. Going into the other goalkeepers here though, Pope, I think actually has maybe overtaken Raya as the best goalkeeper to buy right now. And that's not me saying I would use transfers to switch these guys around. But if you hate your goalkeeper right now, you think your goalkeeper is terrible, awful, and you wish you never bought them, then I would maybe think about going for Pope over Raya. But Raya, still a great option. If you don't want to go for Pope, Raya is still another great goalkeeper you could pick up this week. I would say these two are the top 2 goalkeepers to have in your FPL team right now. As for avoid, Donnarumma for 5.7 million. I'm not feeling it. Too much money. You need to be playing for the best defense in the league if you're going to be the most expensive goalkeeper in the league. And Donnarumma is not that. Mamardashvili, I know some people may be trying to be a little clever. Alisson's is injured. Go for a cheap Liverpool goalkeeper. But you're only going to get like a few weeks out of Mamardashvili, really. So I don't think it's worth using a transfer on him as a goalkeeper just for a super short term kind of guy there. So yeah, it doesn't really make too much sense for me. So I'm not really feeling it. But guys, those are all of the players I want to talk about in today's video. If I missed anyone out, let me know in the comment section, and I will let you know if I think they are a buy, a sell, a keep, or an avoid. Very glad to be back making videos, guys. Appreciate all of the support, and I appreciate all of the patience you guys have had with me as well. But yeah, I'm back on it now. I really need to make videos just to you know, keep my mind busy. And that's what we will be doing for the rest of the week now. So, yeah, the break is over. Game week 8 is coming, and I'm going to be playing a bench boost this week. So, exciting times. Thanks, guys, for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow for yet another video. See you later, mates. Bye-bye.